Good morning, Hockenheim, and welcome to the acceleration event of the driverless disciplines today. We are already getting started with the TU Eindhoven lining up at the start line. They're being prepared by the officials for a prompt launch at exactly 9 o'clock this morning. If I remember correctly, we'll be seeing the acceleration until 12 here on the Hockenheim pit straight today. Looking into the queue, already have quite a few cars lined up. This is looking even busier than the driverless skid pad that we had yesterday afternoon. So congratulations to all the teams for showing up early. Thank you very much. This will make our lives a lot easier down the road from the official side. No tears at the end when somebody doesn't get their run in.
Yeah, definitely, Jonas. There are really no excuses for not being on time. I've seen a couple of cars already lining up since early this morning, and I think we have an official go for the very first car. Unfortunately, it made it about 10 meters before going off track. And what's the procedure in this case, Jonas?
Yeah, well, we have the blue flashing lights on the car right now. That is usually a bad sight. That means that the autonomous run was aborted, either by remote that one of the team members is carrying to remotely shut off the car out of its autonomous running, or the car itself has recognized a failure state and has aborted. So yeah, in this case, I think it's pretty obvious that one of the team members shut the car off. Yeah, immediately starting to collect an entire line of cones. Especially when there's this many cars lined up, will just take a really long time to set back up. So in the effort of fairness for everybody, they are clearly opting to not ruin the fun for everybody.
Yeah, and let's not forget the walls of the acceleration are pretty close, and these cars have a high speed. So whenever they go off track, it's very, very close to the wall. So if I would be let's say the guy in charge, I would not hesitate to push that button.
Yeah, indeed, we're surrounded by the normal Hockenheim pit walls here, so there's concrete blocks all around us. And it wouldn't be the first time that a driverless car veers out of control on an acceleration straight. We've seen it last year a lot, the previous years as well. There is sort of an infamous inroad about 20 meters down track that I think the teams from Budapest and DHBW Stuttgart should be recognizing quite well. They were bouncing around in that area a few years ago. We've also seen cars in the wall, unfortunately, really heavily damaging things by impact. And yeah, you really don't want that. That's just unnecessary fixes having to be applied.
Yes, and somehow these cars tend to aim for the timekeeping equipment, as we've seen in the past couple of years as well. Now the audiences can see the little black van here, just parked at the start line. It's packed with timekeeping people. Whenever something happens to the timekeeping equipment, they will come run out, crawling out, and try to fix everything that has been damaged. That should be a pretty, well, let's hope we don't get to see that today, because that means something's wrong with the timekeeping equipment. So, but if that happens, then keep your eyes peeled, because that's a fun sight.
Yeah, the timekeeping guys were spending burning late night all last night trying to get this all set up and calibrated correctly. I think we have the three light barriers set up again this year. So that means one at the starting line, one sort of, 10-15 meters down the road, and one at the very end. And at the end there's even a speed trap, so we'll also see some end speed times. Yeah, well, speed and time.
Yeah, and I think this is good information for the teams as well, because then you get a lot of extra data, right? You get the first meter acceleration, and also the end speed also tells you something about the continuous acceleration down the line. So everything they are doing, these timekeeping people, I think they even have a new feature this year, which is the cone counter.
Yeah, this was a last-minute addition, which I think will help both the team and the officials. Previously, it was always a little bit of a mystery to us, but also the teams, how many cones, meaning penalty points, they would be having. Munich Motorsport is setting off, starting to definitely veer for the timing reflectors again. They got a lot further than Eindhoven, but we haven't seen anyone break the finish beam just yet.
No, it's sometimes you see these cars correcting, getting out of course just a little bit. Then the AI or the brain starts to, correct it, but it overcorrects somehow. So the oscillation gets bigger and bigger, and then you go off track, and then the guy in charge presses the button.
Yeah, behind the scenes we've been speculating what the limits are set by the competition towards the teams in terms of limiting or controlling the steering output that the controls are able to do. It seems like this is an ongoing issue. We've seen this a lot, either into sort of an oscillation or just going straight, of course, into a continuous turn. We were hoping for quite an impressive showing here based on the driverless performance on skid pad yesterday. But our experience tells us that even though it looks very simple going in a straight line, seems to still be quite difficult for autonomous cars.
Yes, we've had a couple of discussions going on yesterday after the driverless skid pad. Somehow we speculated that the skid pad is actually a bit more easy for these cars than the straight line acceleration. We're still not sure how that's possible, but because it should be easy, right? Just a straight line, maybe even lock the steering wheel, which is not allowed, by the way, and then just floor it. But that's not how it works, does it?
Clearly not. You have, I think, a very different scope and horizon for the car to recognize here. This is a lot longer, 75 meters. The car can't necessarily see all the cones all the way to the end, whereas the skid pad is about 15 meters across. So the horizon is just a lot smaller for that. Maybe we can talk a little bit about proceedings today. All the driverless cars that we're seeing here today are either competing for just the manual cup, which coincidentally has driverless components in it, or they might opt to still participate for the driverless cup, which means that we will see those cars for the driverless cup also later this afternoon in the driverless track drive or autocross. The track drive is tomorrow, I believe. But yeah, just because a driverless car shows up here today doesn't mean that we won't see a driver operating that same car in the manual competitions later on.
Yes, it's quite complicated actually. If you really want to know how it all works, then I advise you to look the website up. I think that contains every bit of information that you need for that. I'm still looking for the points table, which all the rules documents refer to, because that's quite a complicated thing by now. You need software just to be able to calculate the points. But yeah, it does make it a little bit more interesting, I guess. And also, they put a lot of effort into giving these cars a bit more points for the driverless aspect of the car, right?
Yeah, we've seen a few changes here at FSG over the years. One being the introduction of driverless, but then this change of giving teams the option to include driverless capabilities, even though they are mainly competing in manual competitions, is really one of the big changes in the last 2 years. And that has really pushed teams towards the adoption of driverless, albeit for the simpler categories of, big air quotes here, only skid pad and acceleration. And like I mentioned, if you really want to go for the driverless cup, that's the other two, autocross and track drive. We have a new contender lining up at the starting beam. Chalmers, we've seen these guys yesterday at the skid pad, one of the early runners as well. They were setting a reasonably competitive time there. At the same time, we've also seen Eindhoven there yesterday, being able to complete the skid pad with ease and then struggling. So yeah, a good performance in skid pad does not necessarily translate here. Chalmers being given the go-ahead, and we'll see the orange light flashing. Sets off at a bit of an angle, but makes it across the finish line. Another critical factor is now that we see a solid blue light, meaning the car has recognized that its drive is over. And that's the first time on the board for today.
And that was already pretty impressive. Here we go. We're talking about how difficult it is to keep the car in a straight line. And Chalmers goes,
hold my beer.
Yeah, here, hold my beer. I'll be back in 3 seconds. Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, 3.83, that is also a relatively competitive time, especially here at the Hockenheimring for manual cars in the first place. One key difference, of course, being that now we see the little golf cart making its way across the pit straight to ferry the team members there to push the car away at the end. That is still one of the big differences between manual and driverless events. Driverless just takes a little bit longer to push the car there, to set up, uninstall the driverless driver from the car, and at the very end, yeah, the exact reverse. So yeah, we're seeing less pace here than we would normally see at a manual acceleration.
Yes, there's a lot of pause in between, but when the cars get going, then you see a lot of action. But I think this is a very good setup. Having a go-kart, a little golf cart standby. It will be 30 degrees soon outside, so you don't want people running with heavy pushing equipment, and I think the driverless car, which we still have to have a driver inside the car whenever it's being pushed. You know, wearing a full suit in this heat. So this is actually a pretty good setup. As always, Germany really thinks about those things.
Yeah, somebody still has to suffer in one of those bathrobes out here in 30 degrees. It's 9 o'clock, but it already feels like we're approaching that high mark for the day. We're roasting in the sun here all day, but yeah, that's what we do to bring you all the freshest information from the start line. The golf cart has returned, and Chalmers is almost off the trodden path for the acceleration straight. Next lined up is Ulm. These guys we also saw at the skid pad yesterday, I think a couple of times. Getting 2 runs in is always a good sign, meaning that the team has enough confidence in the reliability of their car, and has also managed to get through scrutineering fast enough to have the time available to do this. We're engaged. Very vigorous start, but exactly the same problem as we've seen with the first 2 runners. Not quite a straight line right from the line.
Yeah, and somehow also aiming for the left side, taking out all the cones. So whether that's too late to adjust or a little bit too much, we don't know. But a lot of these teams will analyze the data and try to make, well, some kind of changes to the software and the algorithms. Maybe just put the setting on not hitting any cones. Maybe that's the whole trick, but we don't know. It sounds so easy, but it's in practice it's not.
Yeah, a popular theory among at least the uninitiated here was that there is a lot of equipment here on track that teams might not normally have out when they're testing the car by themselves. So we have little tripods that carry all the laser reflectors, little bits of cable rolls, an extra microphone here or there. That might all be things that the software might identify as a cone. And that could really be pushing things off. But yeah, everybody has to be dealing with the same conditions here at FSG, so this is not really a cause for complaint.
No, I think also the more experienced teams, they really assess the situation here as it is, and they take a lot of pictures and a lot of videos. They take that back to their teams in preparation for next year, because the setup will be quite similar with a lot of tripods, as you said, a lot of different cones, and maybe golf carts, and you see a blue sign in the past in the distance. So there are a lot of, well, there's a lot of noise, ambient noise. But these experienced teams, they take this data back with them, and they try to set it up as they practice with the cars. Well, at least in theory, that's something that you should be doing, just to eliminate, you know, the newness of the situation when you come to Hockenheim.
Yeah, in theory and practice are the same. One of the more experienced teams in the driverless core is also lining up, AMZ from Zurich. Car number 33 we saw yesterday already. This is one of the fan cars. We already alluded to this yesterday. Active ground effects are being not forbidden anymore within Formula Student. I can't say I particularly like the noise that the Zurich car makes. It sounds like a broken vacuum cleaner. But,
you're not a fan?
No, definitely not a fan of this one.
Actually, we had also a little bit of discussion yesterday about this, because we were speculating that for the acceleration, whether they would use the fan or not. And the consensus was in the end that they would use the fan just the first couple of meters to get a lot of traction, and then disengage it and maybe even engage the DRS, because a lot of these cars have DRS. I don't know how it works with autonomous cars, whether they activate the DRS on their own or not, autonomously. But that's something we will find out soon enough, whether they use the power ground effect for the acceleration as well.
Yeah, from the Dresden car yesterday, we heard that the autonomous system can absolutely enable and disable the powered ground effects. That was the reason that on their second run on the skid pad yesterday, they weren't using the fans, even though they could have. The system just didn't engage them, even though it should have. Yeah, software playing games with its owners as always. But AMZ is ready and lined up to go. Let's listen in. Well, judging by the noise and the lack of cone hits, you might be able to tell that they made it. But looking at the speed, they clearly had set a speed limit for themselves, 50 kilometers an hour across the finish line. They pretty much achieved after the first 10 meters. So yeah, they were trying to go for a very grippy setup right off the line, as you would, but then played it very safe towards the end. And tried not to crash.
Yeah, they had the fan on all the way, right? So maybe it's all tactic to first vacuum clean the whole straight, so you have a little bit more grip as you go the second and third time. Or I don't know how it works actually, but it didn't disengage, that's for sure. We could hear it all the way through.
Definitely didn't, and they also had the DRS open all the time. So yeah, the rear wing elements being tilted back to reduce the drag on the rear wing is something that we would usually only see with the manual cars, where it really matters to push for a fast time. But yeah, it's good to see, just like yesterday, some performance optimization already being done to allow the driverless cars some faster times as well. Now at the starting line, car number 50 from the Uni Lisbon. This is another team that we saw quite a few times yesterday at the skid pad event. They were, using the time that they had available to them to give it multiple goes. Of course, you're only allowed 2 actual tries at fully starting. But as far as we can tell, that only counts if you actually engage the or get the go-ahead from the official. They were having a little bit of a wiring or connection issue inside the car. So yeah, they recognized that early and were able to pull back early enough that their 2 tries weren't lapsing. Now we see one of the Lisbon team members with the safety remote right next to him, one of the white shirt officials, Christian, having a very stern look over all the driverless teams for many years already, and he's holding a stopwatch. Yay! And this is exactly what we were talking about in the beginning. This is a big slide right at the highest speed point just before the finish line. Lisboa lost control and, yeah, unfortunately slammed into the concrete wall that we were warning before earlier.
Yeah, we could see it here. We're standing right on the line of the wall, and I think the car spun around doing a 180, and I think the left back rear tire of the car actually touched the wall quite hard. So I'm afraid these guys will have to do quite some repairs during the night. You don't never want to see this, right? Because these teams work so hard to get the cars done, and they've had such a challenge to get to scrutineering and all the tests required just to be able to compete. And then this happens. It's really heartbreaking. But also one thing we know for sure that they will get assistance from basically any team here on site. There's also a mobile workshop from the Delft team every year. They always help these teams trying to fix the car. So let's hope it's something that is fixable, and let's hope that we can see them back tomorrow. Because I do think it won't be a quick fix as far as I can tell from here.
No, wheel damage is usually bad news for a Formula Student car. I think, like you rightly said already, the left-right, but also the front one were hitting the concrete wall there. I think also the front wing might have had some damage on the end plate. It is, of course, about 100 meters away from us. We can't quite tell. But yeah, this makes the heart of every Formula Student alumnus bleed here on site, regardless which team it is. But indeed, it's a very welcoming community that we have out here. They will receive help if they ask for it.
Yeah, and I think also it took out the timing equipment, the reflector as well. So they almost made it through the finish line, but it was just so fast during the end. So whatever the safety official did, it was just too late to hit the button, right? I mean, it was just such a high speed. He really couldn't do anything.
Yeah, it was sort of starting into an S curve, just really the last 10 meters or so. And then right across the finish line. I think they actually got a time on the board as they were sort of 45 degrees sideways across the finish line. And then there is no saving it at I didn't see the speed, but sort of 100 kilometers plus that they were going.
Yeah, it was definitely really fast as well. So this was actually quite impressive, but just that final oscillation was just really too much for the car. Yes, and then also in these cases, there's a little bit of a wait. There are some cars in the queue, but they'll just have to wait until the car has been recovered. I think the track itself has already been fixed. I see timekeeping officials just making sure everything is set up properly. Yeah, and this is something that we will see also later on towards the end. Let's say if you're in the queue, it's 10 to 10. You have 10 minutes left until the end, and then something like this happens. Then yeah, unfortunately, that's it. There's no more time. As we saw yesterday, they were quite strict. Someone pushes the button, there's a big gong, and that's it. Whatever you've run or not, that's really your own choice. So yeah, I would advise any team that is able to make it here to do it as soon as possible. I mean, the conditions are good, it's dry, it's hot. The grip levels will increase, but I don't think that will be the major factor in setting a good time here. So,
yeah, I would even postulate that high grip towards the end is detrimental, like we just saw. It can really cause snap oversteer, snap understeer, if that's even a thing. Well, detrimental steering on a straight, let's call it that way. You really don't want to see this, and yeah, who knows? Maybe less grip is actually positive in that sense. But yeah, it does put some strategic curveballs into the team's plans here. We have 5 or 6 waiting behind us, and yeah, it's driverless and it's far away. You gotta just wait a little bit. We would actually see a very similar procedure, I think, had this been a manual car. Maybe in this case, actually, with a relatively heavy impact, we would see some medical responders actually checking with the driver. In this case, that's not necessary, but yeah, this can take some time on top of all the running time that the teams need. Of course, they are limited in how much time they can use at the start time. That's why Christian is running around with the stopwatch, like I was saying. But yeah, it's still a pretty long affair here.
Yeah, and we see this every year. Towards the end, it gets busier and busier, and then there are always teams missing out on their second run or even the first run. So it's it's always a shame to see, because if you just come half an hour earlier, you wouldn't be in the stress or in that situation ever again. So,
at the same time, I do have to commend the teams that were here very early today. We had a big queue, has never run empty yet. We're 20 minutes in already. So yeah, thank you to everybody showing up already, and to anybody who hasn't run yet. Yeah, we're missing you here at the start line.
Yeah, and I think it's also a good strategy, right? Because you do your first run, maybe try to analyze whatever went wrong, or just analyze the data that you have, make some improvements, and you have time for that if you come early. And then you can actually optimize your second run. If you wait until the last hour, then you don't have time in between to make any major modifications or optimizations, right?
Yeah, it's part of the game here at Formula Student to optimize your performance as much as possible. But especially now with the driverless competitions invading the manual cup as well, it's also reduced number of runs. You get 2 attempts at each of the disciplines. So yeah, it's very important, especially for the driverless cars, to get a run in, just to have a time on the board, regardless of your performance, pretty much. But yeah, pretty much the same applies to the manual competition now. Just to be here and have a time on the board is so much more valuable.
Yeah, and the car from Milano, it sounds like it's going to take off anytime soon. I'm expecting it to go vertical instead of horizontal, the way it actually fires up the fan. So it does promise a lot. Let's see whether they can deliver on that promise.
Yeah, I think that's the cooling, not actually a powered ground effect. I don't think it's loud enough for that. But yeah, of course, you have computers inside the cars running all the calculations necessary for the driverless parts. Maybe they're running hot this morning. We have blinking orange already, so the car could set off at any moment. The autonomous mode is engaged. And we're off. Really straight, but they are skirting very close to the left line of cones. This was definitely not a run down the center.
Yeah, I can't see from here whether they stopped on time, because there are 2 cones at the end of the straight, and I think that the light is still blinking, so it's not. It should turn solid blue, right? So I'm not sure whether this counts as an actual valid run, and I'm not sure whether it stopped on time as well, because we can't see the 2 cones in front of the car.
Yeah, the orange marked area with the orange cones is the stop zone. The car needs to recognize by itself that it needs to stop. So yeah, it needs to recognize the finish line. It took the car quite a while to set off, so they have a little bit of time left, I think, to let the car decide by itself. Only if the run is concluded by a solid blue light will they get the points for it, though, and also have a valid time on the board. It was a pretty fast time, 3.72, so it's not bad.
Yeah, it actually looked pretty straight. A little bit of a wobble, but nothing major. So it actually looked really good, but didn't really start to break at the finish line. So it did take a long time to slow down. As far as we can tell, it's still blinking. And we'll have to wait. I think there's a certain time limit for that as well, right? Do you don't know it by heart, Jonas?
I don't know the exact time by heart, but yeah, the stopwatch is no doubt running. The team members are very anxiously looking towards the far end of the pit straight here, and yeah, you only get the points, you only get the time on the board if the car is fully autonomous in starting and stopping, which makes sense. But yeah, can create some tense moments like this. Yeah, and this is indeed the bad news. Now there's blue flashing, meaning that yeah, the safety button on the remote was pressed to disengage the autonomous mode remotely.
Yes, and we've already seen with Tristan, one of the timekeeping guys here, actually demonstrating to us what a car can do if it hits the one of the reflectors. And I think that's also one of the tripods that we can well put in the trophy cabinet. But yeah, that's I think we might be able to do something with this. Thanks, Tristan. Let's just hope, because we're in half an hour now, so let's hope they have a couple of spares in stock, because the way, only 4 more, so let's hope that these cars don't actually target the tripods. Yeah, so I just had a quick chat with Christian. He said that there's no really time limit at the end of the run. So what he does is he gives them, gives the teams sort of reasonable time to allow the car to stop. So he gave them 1 minute, and he said after 1 minute the car doesn't, you know, turn solid blue, the light, then probably it will not do it in half an hour either. So they give them a reasonable time, and then that's it.
Yeah, of course there is a little bit of reasonableness within the officials. The queue is also okay. There is still plenty of time in the running, so. Yeah, depending on the situation, I think it's also fair to have this a little bit variable. Next up, though, we have Monash, a car from down under, either car number 66 or 99, you never know. These guys we also saw at the skid pad yesterday. I think the timekeeping guys should be shaking in their van. Because just like the Lisbon car did here earlier, they veered for one of the timing reflectors in the center of the skid pad yesterday. I really hope that isn't indicative of any of the things to come, because the Monash car turned in early, and that would be not so nice here on the straight today. Nevertheless, we have to highlight the fact that these guys managed to ship an electric Formula student car halfway across the world. That is no small feat with the import process on things like high voltage batteries. They're off already. There was a little bit of a correction at the 10-meter mark. Pretty pedestrian pace, but they cross the finish line and come to a stop by themselves, and a solid blue light is good news. Well done, guys.
Yes, very solid, very safe, and that's points on the board, right? I mean, I think the whole idea is to get at least points in your first run, and then go for maybe a bit more points during second run. But this is something that they have in the pocket, and nobody can take it away from them for now. Also, one of the few teams actually, that run Goodyear tires instead of Fuchsia tires. Not sure. We did a stroll through the pit area yesterday, and I think 99% of the teams run almost the same compound Hoosier tires, and only very few run the Goodyear tires. We'll see tomorrow and then the next days whether there's a difference or not. I don't expect a lot of difference just due to the tires. It's very difficult to compare. But it's just, obvious that they have a different choice.
I did see one Continental holdout. I think the Continental tires were introduced sort of 2018, 2017 era, and were pretty popular back then. Fell a little bit out of favor over the years, but yeah, at the moment Hoosier is the favorite. 2 good years and 1 Conti.
So you kept score already. Wow, very good. Also, this is, I think, one of the times that we will remind you to fill in the commentary forms, because otherwise we will just make things up about your car and your team, and we are very creative and don't want that. So please fill in the commentary forms. I don't know where to find it. Just ask one of the media guys or look on the website, and just, it's very easy. Everybody can do it. Just fill in the form, and then we'll talk about your car a little bit especially during the endurance event. We will have something to talk about. Maybe give a shout out to someone back home, or your sponsors or family, whatever. So help us out and fill in the commentary form.
I was actually thinking about this morning. I think the easiest way to find it is in the live stream on the FSG YouTube channel. It was in the intro presentation. And there should be a QR code there that you can use to get to the commentary form.
Yeah, we see Tallinn at the start line. We went to the pits yesterday, Jonas, and I think this was one of the neatest cars we've seen. The level of detail, level of finish is really, really high. It was just a well-built car. You can just see it by the attention to detail of this car, and really nice-looking car as well. So if it performs as well as it looks, then it should be really good.
Yeah, I recall they were struggling a little bit on the skid pad. I wouldn't swear that they ever set a valid runtime. But yeah, we're already engaged here. Orange flashing. Set up with some wheel spin on the front wheels, actually. Pretty straight, but now collecting, yeah, sort of halfway down the right-hand side cones. And yeah, the team member pushed in the kill button and terminated the run just before the finish line.
Yeah, and every time we have a car on track, we look back in the queue, and somehow more and more teams appear in the queue. So it's never really empty. As you said earlier, Jonas, we have a number of cars waiting in line. It's all ready to go, and I think the next one up here is car number 34. Ingolstadt. And yeah, the funny thing about these cars also is, if you look at the back wing, they almost all have some kind of quote or hashtag or some shout out or whatever, and half of the time we don't know what it is or what it means, so we just have to guess, but it does mean something to them. Maybe it's an inside joke for the team or team members or sponsors. But it's really funny. Some of them actually make sense, and some of them don't, for us at least. Yes, while we were waiting for the elevator to arrive, I think we have the next car here in line, car number 59. Let's talk about a little bit about cooling, because it's getting hot in here, out here, and these cars need tremendous amount of cooling, especially the batteries, right, Jonas?
Yeah, batteries, motor controllers or inverters, and the motors themselves all get hot. Specific about Formula Student is, of course, the high power density that these cars have, specifically the electric ones. We hear the Dresden car, even without the active aero, there are a lot of fans running in that car. And yeah, it all is usually hooked up to a liquid cooling circuit with radiators outside the car. This is a very vigorous set-off, very straight, right down the middle. Purple time, 121 kilometers an hour. I think Eindhoven was slightly faster, 140, but still, this is a rapid time. They were just super quick in the first sector. We see 108. I think Eindhoven had a 121. So yeah, this was basically manual level acceleration times here.
Yeah, definitely 3.46. That's impressive. Really, really impressive. I couldn't tell you how it should be better, because it was really well off the line. It accelerated all the way through. It made a little bit towards the left side of the track, but I think it stayed well within the track and stopped on time with solid blue lights. So yeah, excellent run. Well, I think we have a really good benchmark for now. It will be tough to beat them.
And no wheel spin as well. So the one way I think they could still make it better is by engaging their fans right off the start. You would expect that a little bit more grip earlier on yields faster times. That's usually very beneficial to have a faster first sector time. And yeah, we did hear them yesterday at Skid Pad. They have active aero under the car. But yeah, Dresden historically quite well tuned in for the acceleration in general. So yeah, I really hope that they come back for a second run and just give it its all. Of course, within limits, you really don't want to hit the wall.
Would you say that Dresden is quite fanatic about the acceleration?
Next up on the starting line, TU Darmstadt car number 240. This is another car that we saw at Skid Pad yesterday. I think the whole queue that we've seen so far was in fact present at the Driverless Skid Pad already. So that's probably the reason that they were able to make it here so early. Some of the other teams might still be stuck in scrutineering or fixing technical issues inside of the pits. Darmstadt yesterday was struggling a little bit getting the car to engage, at least in their first run. Let's see how they can do on this installment, as Dresden is being pushed away off into the distance. Next up in the queue we have Barcelona in the first run queue, and after that AMZ is already coming back for their second go. We're off for Darmstadt. A lot of hesitation actually, sort of 3/4 of the way through. The ASR managed to save it just in time.
Yeah, I had a little bit of a flashback to the Portugal car, but oh man, that was really close. It went exactly the same way as the car that crashed into the wall. But it managed to, I think the reaction time of the ASR really saved the car here. And big applause for that guy, because I had a flashback.
Yeah, the reflexes were good, deserving round of applause from the crowd here. Saved it just in time. He's sort of halfway between the straight markers and the concrete wall. Not much was missing for a repeat there, but they'll be able to push the car back relatively quickly this time. No damage. Barcelona lining up for their first acceleration run. They were also having not so much luck at Skidpad getting things started and working correctly. But yeah, new day, new beginnings. Let's see what they can do.
Yeah, now as we are standing here, also the queue is now looking quite empty. We have ETH Zurich. I think they're already lined up for the second run. And yeah, after that, it's quite empty. I'm just looking behind the queue. No other cars waiting either to enter this event. So maybe after Barcelona and Zurich, we will well, enlighten you with a little bit more elevator music from Jonas's phone. But we'll see. If any other team is ready to go, the queue is empty, sun is out, and it's perfect to do a couple of runs.
We hear some noises from the Barcelona car as it sets off. A careful start. And yeah, starting to collect cones about halfway down the straight and stopping the run in favor of the timekeeping equipment towards the end. Yeah, a bit of a struggle. The first few cars were sort of favoring the left side, very close to the left-hand cones. But yeah, now the yellow cones are really getting it from the Barcelona team. Better luck next time, guys. Yeah, the cleanup effort from the Barcelona incident was relatively quick. Lining up now on the start line, car number 33 for its second run of the day. We'll be keeping a close eye at the timing screen this time to see if they can improve. They had a pretty good run. Active aero being super loud. It looks a lot more vigorous. They were limited at 50 kilometers an hour to start. They hit one cone in the stop zone, but managed to keep it between the lines. Solid blue light is all right. And yeah, they don't manage to beat out Dresden, but 3.48 nevertheless is a pretty respectable time for a driverless acceleration run. Just like we said, the first sector time, 1:09, is just slightly slower, 100ths than Dresden was, and yeah, that translated into a slightly slower end time in the end. It's really, really exciting to see that the car performance is finally being pushed by the driverless systems. The more experienced teams clearly being willing to let the driverless system run its reign over the car. It was very close with the AMZ run here. It was getting a bit of a wiggle on in the end zone. I was a little bit worried that they were going to repeat some of the incidents that we've seen here today. But so far, so good. And yeah, just like with SkidPad yesterday, car performance is really becoming a factor for the end times of the fastest driverless teams. Really good to see. As AMZ retreats into the sunset at the end of the pit straight, Hamburg is joining us at the starting line. Yeah, I know the sun isn't setting yet, but you got to say something. We had some good news from the scrutineers here about the Lisbon team. Of course, we saw them literally in the pit wall earlier this morning. It sounds like they were actually relatively calm about the whole situation. They were very confident that they were going to be able to fix everything. I really hope that we see them at the driverless autocross later today, or at the very least in some of the other manual disciplines. Of course, they just set a time through the finish line. I would expect there to be some sort of cone and off-course penalty applied if that is actually a valid run. Of course, anything that we claim here is not necessarily the official version, but
but I think the safety button was pushed, right? So in that case,
okay, that could also be.
Yeah, but it did. You're right. It did manage to cross the line, sort of. But I think the safety button was pushed, so that probably nullifies the point. Anyway, one of the scrutineers actually told us that besides they were really calm, the extent of the damage was, well, sort of limited to the suspension, rear suspension of the car. There was some aero damage on the front wing, looked a little bit wobbly, and also some cooling elements. So maybe they can fix it. In the meantime, we see cars going off. I think the ASR pressed the button just to be sure. So anyway, the team, they felt quite confident that they can fix the car, and as Jonas mentioned, they were quite relaxed about it. So let's hope we can see them back as soon as possible.
Yeah, Hamburg was making me a little bit nervous here. They were getting into that oscillation mode just again, sort of about halfway. That seems to be a particularly favored spot by the cars to start getting confused.
Yeah, that's really funny because every time that happens, there's a sort of a correlation between the car oscillating and you jumping up and down out of anxiety. It's actually quite funny to see from a distance. Anyway, yeah, let's hope these cars stay on track and not go towards the wall of time equipment anymore.
Yeah, I'm mirroring the pain that it would take to fix the car in the end. I still feel with anybody who has to deal with fixing the car that much at a competition. This is no small feat, especially here. Any fixes that you do apply have to be reapproved by scrutineers. You have to re-queue. You have to spend time again to convince them that you fixed it properly.
But Jonas, you never had to fix anything on the competition
oh no, it was
in
flawless
the team,
all
right?
the time. Of course, no.
Yeah, you had everything planned out perfectly. Nothing ever broke on the competition, right? So you had actually quite an easy time on every competition you went to.
Yeah, totally. What looked like an easy time was the Prague skid pad in the driverless variant yesterday. So yeah, this car is rolling up right now. I'm quite curious to see how they will do. They had quite a smooth run yesterday, so I have high hopes for car number 42. Of course, we already saw some wicked fast runs from Dresden and AMZ earlier. I'm not sure if there are fans on this particular car, but still, a relatively aggressive aero package on this one. Of course, low speed downforce is a bit difficult to achieve by normal aerodynamic means.
Well, there are some fans on the grandstand and also in the paddock. Yeah, we're just waiting patiently for the Prague car. Very good getaway, clipping a couple of cones, but it does actually make it through the finish line. Let's just wait for the, yeah, solid blue. There we go. So that counts as a run. Pretty decent time as well, 4.3. Yeah, 2 cones, but I think they will take it. That's also some decent points on the driverless acceleration event. In the meantime, we do have a couple of cars in the queue as well. 3 new cars arriving. Well, actually, no, they're not new cars. They're in the second run. Just to remind everybody, all these cars have 2 runs per event on this driverless acceleration event. And I think there are no more cars in the first run queue. It's all about getting the second run in and then maybe preparing for the next dynamic event. Yes, and we can see the one of the officials, Christian, actually the head official of this driverless event. He's positioning the car in exactly the right place, just in front of the timing beam. It's very important that these cars all line up in exactly the same position, because the further away you are from the beam, the higher the speed, the initial speed that you get when you get moving, and that's a big difference at the end of the acceleration. So Christian has actually some dedicated equipment to position the cars. It's really fancy. There's some lights that actually tell you, I think it's very accurate, it's a couple of millimeters, whether the car is in the good position, and before it actually can go and be given the go-ahead. And then usually Christian just walks back with the ASR, the autonomous safety, responsible. And I think they have been given the green light, so to speak. The car should be switching on at any moment. Yeah, there we go. The very distinctive sound that all these cars have to make just before they drive off. A very good getaway from the line. Very straight, over the line, finishing. Yeah, this team goes really berserk. Very clean run, 4.9. At the end of the straight, it's 69 kilometers an hour. Very, very safe drive, and that's actually a lot of points on the board for them. And they were actually very happy with the performance of the car, so they look really, really happy. Good job, guys. Next up is Monash. We've seen them earlier. They are about to do the second run on this event. They're being pushed, and these cars are really, really difficult to push. There's a lot of electric motors, actually, so you have to push through the resistance of the electric motors as well. So every guy or girl pushing the car actually gets a really good workout. Sometimes, especially when the wheels are turned, then you see 3 people trying to push the car through the resistance. So that's always really funny, and the driver inside the car is like, come on, a bit faster. Let's go. Have a little bit of a workout. Let's go.
Yeah, you got to get to the event on time. And yeah, tires are grippy, especially when they're hot, when you start turning them in. When the driver has eaten a lot for breakfast, you start noticing those kind of things.
Yeah, just a reminder for everybody, they are not allowed to run powered all the way through the paddock, all the way through the queue. They're only allowed to run under their own power at the starting line after they get the key for the remote. So that's something that's that's always a big challenge for the team, because pushing it all the way from the pits, and if you're unlucky, then you're all the way in the front of the pits, and then you have to walk, like, I don't know, what is it, a couple of 100 meters, pushing the car all the way to the starting line. And especially here on the start line, you also have to push it all the way to the start of the Hockenheim Straight, all the way in the queue. So, and all that for 75 meters of powered run.
Yeah, maybe pushing it to their limit is Monash again. They were speed limited last time to, I think, 28 kilometers an hour. What does that translate to? Like 20 miles an hour down under? Something like that. And we're already at solid orange, so the autonomous mode isn't quite engaged yet, but it's ready for it. Stopwatch already running with Christian next to the team members. And we're off. Definitely a little bit faster than last time around. 50 kilometers an hour this time, 6.14 seconds, definitely an improvement for them. So yeah, solid blue light validates the run as well. So barring any calamities in post-scrutineering, this will be an improvement for them on the board.
Yes, great performance from them. Really solid run. They're obviously pretty happy with that, which I can imagine. You only get 2 runs, right? So you have to make the most of it. And something happens, even something small like getting off course or clipping a cone, then you're just devastated because you only have those 2 runs. Well done.
Coming in for their second run is Darmstadt. And yeah, behind them the queue is empty again. So a little bit of a lull coming up, I think. Don't see anyone approaching the queue. There is Prague and Hamburg behind us, but nowhere near the queue. So can take a bit of a breather after this one. As always, at the FSG starting line, there is a lot of emphasis placed on the exact placement of the front wheel. So you can see the officials maneuvering the car into just the right spot. There is a little set of indicator lights similar to what you would see at a drag strip right next to the timing equipment to show you whether the front wheel needs to go a little bit further forward or backward to create as fair as possible condition for everybody. And then the timing beacons are particularly low to the ground as well, and they'll be tripped as the car drives through them. starting to collect the last half of the blue cones and all the way into the stopping area as well. The team member electing to complete the run. Of course, this will carry quite a few cone penalties with it, which as of this year you can also start to see at least on some of the timing screens around here, and hopefully later also in the timekeeping website. But yeah, clearly it was more important for them to have a time on the board, regardless of how many cones they would collect on the way.
I do think it's a valid run, so I think it's points anyway. Yeah, obviously impacted by the amount of coins, but still. I think the scoring of this event is more about ranking than actual time, right? So I think that every position on the standing gives you a certain amount of points. It doesn't really matter what your time is in the end. It's about how high you are on the ranking.
Exactly, and the first run from Darmstadt, of course, was the one that almost ended in the wall. Everybody was happy that they managed to save it. They came back relatively quickly. And yeah, this time it was an issue on the left side for them. So yeah, however simple it might seem, driving a straight line, they were not having any issues with oscillations, but yeah, just slowly offsetting the straight line into the last few cones.
But what the actual impressive thing about it is that it came back into the box when it stopped, because it went actually quite far to the left side, collected a lot of cones, and then steered back into the box to be able to stop, because that's the whole thing, right? It has to stop inside the box, and it actually did that. So that's actually quite impressive of the car, of the algorithm. In the end, it realized, oh wait, I have to be back in the box to be able to stop, and actually did it. So well done by this team.
After a little bit of a lull, we have some on-track action again. Schweinfurt is joining us, car number 297. If my memory serves me right, they were a little bit unlucky at the driverless skid pad discipline yesterday, not being able to complete a run. But like we already alluded to earlier, new day, new beginnings. Conditions are slightly different, the sun being in a different spot. It's just as hot as yesterday, 30 degrees, and very few clouds here in the sky in Hockenheim. Maybe they managed to spend some time this last night, go over the software again, make some tweaks, and send this car straight down the 75 meters into the stopping area. They were gone very quickly straight up the line. And reasonably straight with a little wobble in the finish line, crossed after 6.87 seconds. Respectable run. Relatively slow, 46 kilometers an hour. But yeah, we've mentioned it multiple times already. A time on the board is much more important than how quick that time is, since yeah, the first place in the driverless categories gets a set amount of points, and then just by position thereafter, which is a slightly different scoring than is usually applied to the manual disciplines, where the relative time determines the portion of points from the maximum that you get. we have some action at the starting line again. Joining us for the second time today is the car from Hamburg, car number 78. We saw them once before today. Unfortunately, that was an unsuccessful run for them. If I recall correctly, they were veering into the cones and elected to stop. This is, of course, their second run for today, so I would expect them to want to make it count this time around, similar to what we saw from Darmstadt, where regardless of the amount of cones being hit, they were just hoping for the car to finish. Ideally, of course, you don't hit any cones, you incur a time penalty as a result of that, but you never know with the driverless cars, as the morning session so far is proving to be a tricky endeavor for some of the cars. Not all of them manage to go down the straight in a straight line. We've either seen basically three types of failures. Either they just slowly veer into the cones, they sharply veer towards the wall, or they get into a little bit of an oscillation. Team members preparing the car, turning everything on, always under the supervision of the official white shirts, with a stopwatch to observe the maximum allowed time for them to get going. This is limited in order to provide fair conditions for everybody. We're off. Bit of an oscillation being picked up again, but they make it across the finish line. Now we have a solid blue light. That's all right. That means a successful run. We have some action on the start line here on the pit straight again. Team Tallinn surprised us in our Brezel break. We had to clear everything up so that we can speak clearly again. This is the second time that we're seeing Tallinn today. Their first run was not as successful as they were hoping, a DNF in the first run. So now I would expect them to go completely safe, just get it across the line. Similar to the Darmstadt fashion that we saw earlier, just get it across, get a time on the board. That's really all that counts in this kind of situation. If you only get 2 runs, then the first one is a gamble, and the second one you got to make count.
Yeah, looking at how many teams actually put in a valid run, even if this is a valid one, it should be a decent amount of points. How many valid runs have you seen? Maybe 10? I think maybe even less.
Not very many.
So, yeah, anything that is just valid then should be quite okay.
Judging by the limited speed, 54 kilometers an hour, they set a time, and the car recognizes the finish straight as well. So they've got a time on the board. Very big relief from the team members as well. So yeah, this was a pretty solid performance. I also didn't see any oscillations left to right. Some small
very
corrections,
very minor, exactly. So yeah, the mission accomplished, I would say. Points on the board, decent points as well. So as long as there aren't any like 10 cars that will go in front of you, it should be a decent amount of points as well.
Looking to score some more points, a car that we haven't seen here today is UAS Munich and Barcelona lining up right behind them, though I think we've seen Barcelona before. Did they pull back?
Yeah, I think they were trying to do an attempt, but I think they didn't manage to get going. So that's why they're back. This is all second run territory anyway. But yeah, we'll see what will happen in a short amount of time. I think they just actually quite relaxed, but as always, the guys from Barcelona are pretty tranquilo. So yeah, in the meantime, we have UAS Munich just coming up to the line.
Yeah, I think the first run of Munich I missed. I just checked in the timing sheet, that was a DNF. I think I was not around for this one. But yeah, now we have quite a few teams in a similar situation. Darmstadt and Tallinn managed to make it count. It's always a bit of a tense moment, whether you make or break it at an entire discipline, depending on your last run, is a tense moment for the team members.
So car number 13, it's not a bad sign in Germany, or is it maybe lucky number 13 in this case?
Yeah, maybe they're just trying to be gutsy. I would expect a comment on the rear wing about something like this. I wouldn't have picked it. Of course, not for any superstitious reasons, but...
It is Friday today, so yeah.
I think the team members from Munich are intentionally using up the allowed time that they have. Oh, and somebody was also clearing in the infield, and now we're off. Bit of a hesitation at the 10-meter mark. A slight oscillation, and now we're completely off track. Managed to stop it just in time. I think had we gone any faster, we would have been sliding into the grass here already. They were aiming for some timekeeping equipment again, had they gone straight. So yeah, good on them, managed to catch it just in time. But yeah, unfortunately now they don't have a time on the board for the day at all. behind Munich, the queue is filling with a few more second runners. We're seeing Barcelona for the second time. Then I see car number 34 and 297 preparing for their second runs as well. Maybe you can fill us in on the actual university names, Mickey.
Yes, it's Ingolstadt, car number 34. And we have, let me see, to Schweinfurt from, Schweinfurt, and it's car number 297. Both of them, just relaxed. Scrutineering, just doing a couple of mechanical checks. And I think this is one of the other cars that you mentioned, Jonas, Ingolstadt, car number 34 with the Goodyear Eagle tires on that. Two more cars in the queue. Maybe you will be lucky and see a couple of other cars arriving soon. Just looking behind the fence. No more other cars waiting to get onto the staging area. So for now, these two cars will be just up in a second after Barcelona will do their run.
Yeah, Barcelona is almost ready. I think in their first run they had a similar issue that we had seen from other teams as well, where they started the run straight and then started veering into the line of cones, and then they elected to abort the run. I'm not sure if the team members might be regretting that decision. Maybe they would have wanted to keep going instead, just get it across the line as much as possible. Yeah, now everything counts in the second run for them again.
Yes, UAS Munich from Munich, just getting into the post-inspection area. Just to remind everybody, all these cars will be inspected on a number of points after they completed their run. The scrutineers check a number of points mechanically, but also electronically. I think also the amount of power used, things like that will be read out. So here we go with Barcelona.
Careful start. That's a good thing. Slight corrections down the road, but nothing major so far. They crossed the finish line. Set a time, just under 10 seconds. That's good. We're still flashing orange, so now I think it's green. It's very hard to tell at this distance, but I think they managed to put a valid run down.
Yes, I think it's the Doppler effect, when it tends to shift into another color from a distance and the speed. So, well, that's another lecture for another day. Well done by the Barcelona team, the University of Barcelona from Barcelona.
Maybe it is worthwhile mentioning. Indeed, we say it's a valid run. You've mentioned the post inspection already. In those checks, aerodynamic exclusion zones, power, like you mentioned, but also the signals that are sent from the autonomous system to the actuators within the car get recorded. Afterwards, the runs can be invalidated if any infringements get detected. So yeah, we can say that the run is valid, but yeah, the final say we will only see when the scorings for this discipline are published.
Also, it's not allowed to send anything to the car, right? It's only the car is allowed to send something to the team, but not the other way around. If something, I think that's like prohibited for anything, right?
Yeah, indeed. You're not allowed to remote control the car besides the signals to engage autonomous mode and the kill switch, of course, which are reasonable things to have control over your car from a distance. But that is a bought-in system right off the shelf, an industrial remote with a specified module inside the car, inside of the safety circuits there. Besides that, you are allowed to receive all sorts of telemetry. A lot of teams opt to send data about the accumulator voltages in there, maybe status bits for the controls as well, or temperatures, other important things to know while the car is running. But yeah, they are not allowed to have another computer running in the background and sending commands from a distance. It all has to happen inside of the car. Schweinfurt coming back, of course, for their second run. We did see them earlier today already, with a time actually. So they would have to improve from a 6.87. As I say that, I think they're pulling back from the start line. So that means they will still get another try, by my math anyway, since they haven't actually engaged any autonomous systems. So yeah, something not quite right with the car. They're opting to retreat for now.
Yeah, that's the other part of the rule, isn't it, Jonas? If as long as you didn't engage the autonomous system, it doesn't count as an attempt, right? A formal official attempt. So that means that the 2 attempts that you get, the 2 runs that you had, are still valid. So yeah, you can try as many times as you wish, more or less, as long as you don't engage the autonomous system.
Yeah, and this will get a little bit more interesting in about an hour's time or so. The queue length, if you're really eager to still set a time, can be working against you as well. Yeah, driverless cars, this is about, 5 minutes at least per car that it takes here to get situated, to do your run, and to retrieve the car at the end. So that's quite a bit longer than we would see with the manual cars, especially here at the acceleration. Where, yeah, you got to be on the lookout from a strategic perspective as well, just so that you don't miss out on any of your runs. And this is also a good moment to, again, give a shout out to all the driverless teams that are through scrutineering, but haven't been showing up here at the acceleration straight yet. Now is as good a time as any to come over here. I don't think there is much traffic at all inside of the dynamic area here on the pit straight. So yeah, come on, come all, and do your runs for the day. Prague now pushing up to the starting line for their second run of the day. Their first time was a 4.24. Pretty up there in terms of the rankings so far today. So it would be interesting to see what they can do to improve. Because once you're down in that sort of sub 4.5 second range, I have a hard time identifying things that you can really turn up. You got to be pretty confident in your autonomous systems. We've seen a lot of struggles with that today already. But yeah, also from a car perspective, at that point, you're tweaking very few things. Maybe you could adjust some of the damper settings. Maybe if you're really feeling gutsy, different wing configurations or tire pressures. But yeah, outside of that, you just got to hope that the car does better, basically.
Yeah, do you think that they turn back the power setting a little bit in the first runs? Is that something that you would do? Let's say you were chief engineer. What would you do? Would you go full power setting on the first run, or save that for the second run?
No, my strategy would absolutely be to make a very safe first run, set a speed limit indeed. We've seen that from Monash and some other teams, just a very conservative, get it down the line kind of setting, sort of sub 50 kilometers an hour, let the car finish, and then really give it the beans in the second one, maybe remove that. Depending on how confident I am from previous testing experience, how robust the autonomous pipeline is, and then really send it the second time around.
Yeah, with the driver, there's no discussion. Full power on both runs, right? I mean, that's yeah, and in that case, that's a really small adjustment. Really good getaway from the Prague team, staying within the cones, stopping. I think they stopped in time.
Yeah, and
yes,
small improvement for
very
them.
Good.
I think 4.24 was the exact time. Maybe there is some improvement in the thousands. That's why it's showing up as green here on the board. 89 kilometers an hour is a little bit conservative for a super high-speed run. And yeah, also the 10-meter sector time, a little bit on the slower end, but nevertheless a great performance. I think that puts them easily in the top 5 of the times that we've seen so far. And yeah, they got 2 runs in without issue. So only one very small correction toward the finish line, but also that was very well moderated. Didn't really veer out of control like some of the other ones that we saw today.
No, it looked really steady. Didn't look wobbly or you know, unbalanced at all. So actually, even us as commentators looking at the line, you didn't have the idea, okay, this could go wrong at any second. At least I didn't see Jonas jumping up and down here next to me, so that's usually a good indication of the stability of the car.
Yeah, indeed. You can also tell by the looks on the team members' faces usually. They have, of course, a little bit more inside knowledge about how this car is expected to perform here anyway. And when the team members are calm and collected, then usually that translates into a good performance as well. But we've seen so many driverless crashes now over the last few years. I'm getting more and more nervous, especially as the speeds increase. The Dresden performance, I'm really curious to see them come back and maybe improve on that. They were pretty confident from the looks of things also for their first run, but yeah. We never know what is still to come here. What we do know is that the queue is being filled with at least one more car again. That is Ingolstadt pushing ahead of Schweinfurt. They are taking a little bit more time.
Yeah, I think they're just waving them through because they are still tweaking the car a little bit. We saw Schweinfurt, I think, doing a couple of tries earlier, so they just want to make sure that they will be able to go. So there's no rush, there's no queue, so they just waved everybody past.
Yeah, at times like this, when the straight is a little bit calmer, you have, of course, a little bit of liberty that you can take in situations like this. Normally, in the manual disciplines, you wouldn't really want to see this kind of behavior. Being a blockade in the queue is not well received by the officials and scrutineers here. But yeah, it's driverless and a pretty calm moment at that. So this is understandable leniency.
Yes, and in some cases it's even queueless competition as well.
Clueless or queueless? One of the two.
Yes. Yes, and also to explain a little bit, there's a simultaneous event going on, the manual skid pad. And what I've heard from the official Christian is that a lot of teams, well, while we see the, which was this car?
Ingolstadt was having a few issues off the starting line. They were starting very carefully, and then just at the 10-meter mark tried to speed up and immediately veered, of course. I'm not sure if that's what I would have done. I think I would have let it go a little bit further, just to see if it would still recover and make it down the track. But yeah, the team members elected to abort in this case.
Yeah, it's very safe. And just as I was just mentioning the emptiness of the queue, Christian actually told me that a lot of teams actually elected to go on the manual skid pad first, and then come back to the acceleration. Why? Simply put, because if you destroy your car on the acceleration, well, actually the software algorithm destroys the car on the acceleration, then you miss out on a lot of points on the manual skid pad as well. Well, this only counts, of course, for the teams that compete in all the competitions, obviously, but still a lot of teams elect to do the safe event first, which is the manual skid pad.
Yeah, and another strategic consideration might be there are a lot more teams running the manual skid pad, so yeah, queues could be a lot longer. Of course, the throughput is going to be a little bit higher than at the driverless skid pad yesterday, but still, I understand the strategy behind it. There are a couple of cars joining us now in the first run queue. Car number 85 from Delft and 24, judging by the shade of yellow that is Karlsruhe. Ulm, I think the other black and yellow car we saw earlier already. So yeah, some of the cars that we haven't seen today yet making it to the starting line as well.
Actually, if we think about it, KIT has a perfect name for an autonomous car, right?
Yeah, the only thing they're missing is really the moving red light in the T-cell. Maybe that's a development goal for next year.
Already in the 1980s they had the T-cell, right?
Way before it was cool.
That's way before it was actually really cool. It's all green now. So the guys from Schweinfurt are ready to go. One of the team members is filming everything, probably for their own database.
6.87 to beat. He's already faster in the 10 meters. And yeah, indeed, they managed to improve by quite a margin. That's a good time. And yeah, the blue lights indeed are very hard to see at this distance in some cases, but it looks like by the elation of the team members that this was indeed a valid run.
Yeah, quick time indeed, and a huge improvement from the first one, right? 2 seconds almost?
Yeah,
more?
2 seconds pretty much. Managed to get 2/10 off at the 10-meter mark. So I think they also lifted the speed limit that they might have set in the first time. So yeah, perfect strategy, perfect execution. Well done, Schweinfurt.
Yeah, looks like one of the guys from Schweinfurt didn't get to go on the go-kart as the only one. And the other ones are happily being transported to their car. It's always, well, for this guy it's sad, but for the other ones, they are really happy.
Yeah, if you don't have to push the car, then that's always a good time.
Yeah, so he probably acted a bit sad, but he actually was quite happy he didn't have to push it.
Delegation being taught at an early age is important here. Rolling up to the starting line now, car number 85 from Delft.
Yeah, there's some checks, final checks are being carried out. I think the official wants to make sure everything is turned on properly. So they look at the dashboard. I think there's some information on that, indicating whether the car is be able to switch on or not.
Yeah, the officials usually look at the dashboards and then have no clue what is happening. Every team sort of has their own system there. Some rely on screens with actual human readable input. Some have a sort of light bar with different colors and orders to flashing lights that they need to see for everything to be ready. Some don't have an interface at all. So yeah, besides the prescribed lights that need to be there for safety reasons, it's sometimes pretty difficult to tell for outsiders what's going on. But everybody's retreating from the car now, and I think we're good to go. Oh wow, we're so cool. Flashing orange and we're off. Relatively conservative pace, but we made it across the finish line. And the blue light, I can tell in this case pretty clearly, this is a valid run, 5.85. Let's have a quick look at the timing table where that puts this runner.
Yeah, very solid, very dependable. Actually no signs of any imbalances or anything else. So very good performance, really straight. There's a lot of confidence there. So maybe after this one, second run, they will get rid of the speed limiter, and let's see what they can actually do.
Next up, Billy the KIT lining up at the starting line, car number 24 from Karlsruhe. Delft is still clearing away in the background, and behind them there is an empty queue again. So since I believe this is the first run from KIT, it would be, I think, the most pertinent to just loop the car straight back, do the second run, and be done with the dynamics for the morning session anyway. We have just under an hour left anyway in this event. At exactly 12 o'clock, I would expect the gong to be sounding, and any car that isn't moving under its own power at that point will not be permitted to go any longer. We've also had plenty of time in this session for all the potential cars to be running, so the leniency expected is exactly 0 in terms of running overtime beyond the posted opening time of this event.
Yeah, and just also to remind everybody, these cars are electric, so that means they can go forward really fast, but they can also go backward really fast, depending on the mood of the software.
Even though they really shouldn't, one of the core principles stated very early on in the Formula Student rules is no backward driving allowed for reasonable safety reasons. We have seen a few cars in the last few years accidentally be able to do it. That always gets reacted by very strictly. KIT sets off at a rapid pace though. 1:04, and that's the fastest time of the day, 3.34 seconds.
Wow, that looked really, really fast. That's an amazing performance from them. The car bottomed after the start-finish line when it started to brake. Not sure whether that's just a soft spring setup or maybe something else, but it was really fast, so fast off the line. I think the first couple of meters, 104. Yeah, that's really good. 126 kilometers an hour. Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, this is rapid pace. I think the bottoming out might actually be another sign that we're getting closer to matching the manual and driverless performance again. Because from the accelerations that I've driven, I remember the finish line always appears a lot quicker than you thought, and the braking zone is always a lot shorter than you think it is in the beginning. So yeah, you really have to slam on the brakes actively as a manual driver and to be able to slow down in time. And yeah, clearly the driverless car is following suit. They did have a little bit of run out still left, but yeah, some cars were already exceeding that length at a slower finishing speed. So not everybody is as eager to apply the brakes as hard as KIT did.
No, and of course we know Karlsruhe. They've been building really fast and autonomous cars for a couple of years now. And we expect great things from them from the driverless autocross. And that should be really, really interesting to see. So yeah, this will be quite a show. This is already is, and 3:34 was it?
Yeah,
it's already. I think it's up there with the fastest times ever recorded here in Germany. I think one of the fastest times was a 3:31 or something, 3:30 from Ren team probably, or from Green team. Sorry.
Yeah.
Those couple of those cars in the past, similar conditions. So of course it's very difficult to compare them with the asphalt being changed every couple of years, and different tires and so on, and different conditions still.
Different dirt levels on the track. But
yeah, exactly.
One key difference is these cars are missing, about 80 kilos worth of driver. Of course, a pretty classic approach. If you have a large enough team member core available, you usually just pick the smallest and lightest person to stuff into the car for the accelerations. So yeah, maybe it's closer to 60 or 70 kilos difference. But yeah, every little counts when you're going this fast, trying to push the performance as high as possible. And yeah, that's missing in the driverless cars.
Yeah, we always used to say that for the acceleration driver only needs 2 brain cells, right? One big one to accelerate, and maybe a small one just to apply the brakes at the end. But yeah, that's in theory though. These cars should be faster then, because maybe 50 kilos, 80 is a bit much. Looking at the past drivers, there are usually around maybe 50 kilos, 55 maybe. But yeah, still with the clothes on everything, maybe it's like 50, 55 kilos. That's quite the difference. So these cars should be able to, well, in theory, break the 3-second mark, just because they are so much faster off the line. Yeah, in theory.
I really hope that Dresden comes back and turns the fan on. That would be an interesting benchmark to see anyway.
That should be fantastic. Yeah, in the meantime, we have car number 34 back again. The car from Ingolstadt. And we've seen them here a couple of times already this morning. There were some glitches. Let's hope they have fixed that and they are able to run. Because just before they wanted to go, but the car didn't turn on for some reason. Some gremlins maybe in the system. Anyway, they had a quick look with the laptops attached and everything. As we speak, the driver is getting out of the car, and Aaron, one of the other head scrutineers, or actually responsible for this event as well, dynamic event, he's just making sure everything is done by the book, following the right procedures, and positioning the car as always to the millimeter just before the line, before they can go. Well, the car is going, slowly but surely. He managed to nudge just one of the cones, carefully navigating between from one cone to the other, clipping one cone again, but still creeping forward, not aiming for any timing equipment, just going forward. Just remind everybody, if this will be a valid run, it means points for them, so they just want to make sure it gets over the finish line, if ever so slowly. It makes it really, really interesting. Oh no, oh no, oh, well, there you go. That was a really exciting one, but that's the commentator's curse, I'm afraid. The first time we've seen it today, the moment one of the commentators says it looks good, it will be a valid run, that's the moment that the car decides to quit.
It's literally
So, yeah.
in between the last color cone and the finish line cone. You really did a number on those guys.
Yeah, you couldn't have programmed it even better like this. How the car managed to navigate, I don't know, 20 cones just before that, and the 21st decide to, okay, I'm stopping here. This is the finish line. I'm not going to cross it. I'm just going to stop just before it.
I go in happy time now. Yeah, but deserved round of applause. You put on a show for everybody. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, this is arguably one of the most spectacular runs that we've seen today. It was exciting, to say the least.
Yeah, but it was exciting for a good reason. We've seen some other spectacular runs. Yeah, not ending so well for the teams, of course. But yeah, this was a light-hearted good reason. The team members were taking it well as well. elevator. Oh no. There's nothing showing in there. What did we run? We must have. Please don't tell me they came here first. Oh my god, they did. Yeah. What is purple?
For now,
I thought 12, but 12:30. Yeah. And skip that is until what? After. Oh. Yeah. Which I don't quite get. Oh, late again. 3 hours lunch break. Yeah. Oh yeah, there's the team picture. That's what's taking the time to do. Yeah. And everything is hustling now. Yeah. I also like that it doesn't start at 8:30 at least yet. You were happy with your account? And airco. culturally appropriated.
From all expats in Germany, I think I am pretty German. I think it's
South of America.
no,
Checks
Mexico
out.
is North America.
I know. It's south of an America.
It's south of America.
Maybe the south of
To the
North.
south. To the south of
What's
really funny. I went skiing in
Yeah.
and they said, you know what we do? We just fly over it. It doesn't make sense.
You know that song like "Ain't No Mountain High."
Yeah.
In a wall, I know. We just fly over it. It's an airplane.
While we abandoned the elevator music a little while ago, another team has snuck forward onto the starting line. We have Dortmund joining us for what I think is their first run of the day. They were hanging out in the first run queue for quite a while. Car number 172 ready to set off.
Yeah, definitely. We saw them in the first run queue as well. Just to remind everybody, there are two queues, one for the first run and one for the second run. And obviously the first run queues take, well, they have a precedence above the second one. So in this situation, Jonas, does this count as an attempt or not?
Yeah, I would definitely count this as an attempt. They had their autonomous system engaged. The orange lights were indeed flashing. So they did try to set off, but for whatever reason weren't able to do so. Good thing is for them, they have another run to go. They have plenty of time and space here on the starting line. I think my bet would be that pretty much all the teams that are able to run a driverless acceleration have done so up until this point. I still really hope that Dresden comes back and does a fan acceleration. But yeah, Dortmund now has the option to, I think, just pull back, stay in the small line of shadow that's developing, and figure out whatever's going wrong with the car.
Yeah, just to remind everybody, both events, so the manual skid pad and the driverless acceleration, are conducted simultaneously in parallel. And that means that both events will go until 12:30. Given the fact that after that there's the whole panoramic picture with all the teams and cars, we expect that both events will not be continued after 12:30. So it will be quite strict time at the end.
All right, after a little bit of a breather for everybody on the starting line here, we have Milano joining us. They were about ready to get going, and then the car immediately decided that, yeah, this is the end of the run right at the starting line. Solid blue light indicates that the car thinks it's done, and I think that's it. This was their second run of the day, I believe. I think they're having a small discussion with Christian about it, but yeah, aborted run, that's it.
So does this also count as a run or an attempt, or is it a bit of a gray area?
Yeah, they did enable it. It immediately decided no more. So yeah, I can see how you would count it as a run. I could see some leniency being allowed to go again since the car didn't actually move. The queue behind is also looking extremely empty at the moment. There would have been enough time to do it, but...
We never heard the TSOL light, active light.
No,
the
there was
warning
never
as
a
well.
beep for
there's
ready
no
to
beep
drive.
anyway.
So yeah,
So.
maybe the whole software chain never got there to actually pre-charge the car and set it to ready to drive. Yeah, tough break for Milano. Second run, yeah, DNF, or DNS in this case. They never crossed the start line.
And well, in the meantime, we didn't have any uplifting elevator music. However, we do have TU Dortmund on the start line. They're just about to get ready to do, I think this will be their second attempt. We did see them earlier here.
Yeah, they tried, but didn't manage to get going.
Exactly.
Immediately aborting. So yeah, another time, another go. We have about, what was it?
Yeah, we have
45 minutes
about
left to go?
35 minutes left in this driverless acceleration event. And the sun is pretty hot right now, so Jonas and me are, well, melting away slowly but surely here on the tarmac. Anyway, we like to look at cars, and then in that case you need to make some sacrifices, don't we, Jonas?
Yeah, what's melting into a puddle compared to watching driverless cars do funky things on the acceleration straight? Yeah, last time around with Dortmund we got all the way to autonomous system ready, the blinking orange, and then the abort. I hope for them that they can get going this time around.
Yeah, the tension is rising. I really like the hat of the ASR guy.
Yeah, you got to comment. There's a little lidar on top, some driverless cones on the side. So
hats off to him, definitely. Really cool.
This time we're getting going. We're setting off at a bit of an angle, immediately collecting cones. We're off course already, and
was driving towards the timing equipment again.
Yeah. Yeah, fortunately there is enough space on that side towards the concrete, but yeah, they were almost into the grass. Too bad for Dortmund, no acceleration points this time around.
But some of them are like the same car, but they did this so probably.
So after that accelerating little bit of music, we're back for the final part of the driverless acceleration. We have 13 minutes left to go. Just to remind everybody, it will end at 12:30. We speculate that it will be quite strict at 12:30. It will be the end because after that there's the panoramic picture with all the teams and all the cars. So we have car number 59 here from Dresden, and we're expecting quite a performance from this team, don't we?
Yeah, I'm particularly excited, fanboying over their car setup. I really hope that they manage to turn the active aero on for the second run. Their first one was already very fast, 3.46 to beat from their perspective. And of course, the fastest time of the day is probably what they'll be shooting for, which is the 3.34 from Karlsruhe just a few minutes ago.
Yes, if any team can beat the time, then it should be the team from Dresden.
Yeah, they've always been strong at the acceleration for a long, long time now. But yeah, still over a tenth that they need to take out of their time. That's no mean feat. You'd have to, particularly improve your early sector right off the starting line. But I see some confidence being projected by the team members. I think they really want to go for it.
Yeah, and just behind us in the staging area, I see the car from Eindhoven, also coming up for an attempt to beat maybe the best time, but it will be very difficult looking at the times. So there we go, the power ground effect.
That looks like it's on rails. Very straight run. 3.29 seconds. Holy crap.
That's purple all the way through. Wow.
Very deserved round of applause. That was really impressive. Sub 1 second, 10 meters as well.
Executed perfectly. We heard the power of the fans going on, and immediately after that it went like a bullet.
Yeah, fantastic
well done.
time.
Yes. Yeah, that will be really, really hard to beat, and this is actually pretty good time, 3.29. That's we haven't seen that in manual acceleration.
No,
as far as I can remember. So this is very, very good.
No, we're now very deep in driverless new grounds, new territory. Rolling up right beside us here in the stripe of shadow across the pit straight is Trondheim. They are in the first run queue, so they haven't showed up here today before.
Yes, and not a moment too soon, because we have 10 minutes left in this driverless acceleration event. So yeah, they cut it pretty close. They're just checking the last the pressure in the tires, just to get them in the optimal range. But yeah, 10 minutes, 9 minutes left, so should be interesting.
Yeah, if I had to make any predictions about the rest of the runnings here, Trondheim is going to go, and then Eindhoven, who were the first team down here, of course, this morning, might also be the last one closing out the running for the driverless acceleration for today.
Yeah, especially when we look at the cars that finished the acceleration, the teams need a couple of minutes, 2-3 minutes to remove the car safely from the box as well. So from now speaking, we will have time maybe for 3 cars at most. So that means these cars here, Trondheim and Eindhoven, just might be the last ones running today.
Yeah, unless you're really quick now, already, basically making your way to the dynamic area entrance here at the Ravenel Tower. This is going to be it for today.
Yeah, and also the scrutineers will have to take some time to do the final checks on the cars. Just make sure everything is tight, everything is proper. no loose components, and the Trondheim team is given the go-ahead from the scrutineers, and as we speak, they are checking the Eindhoven car right now. And yeah, this Trondheim car usually also very quick in the acceleration.
Yeah, I do recall from yesterday at the skid pad that they weren't quite living up to the expectations. They were having some struggles there. I'm not sure if there was some timing equipment involved. I don't think so, but it definitely did not go quite according to plan. A few disappointed faces from the Trondheim people there last evening. Yeah, as we already talked about, it's a new day, it's a different discipline, different challenges, and going in a straight line. Often talked about, yeah, cars veering off either to the left, to the right, or somewhere in between. But that Dresden run, though, so straight, so quick across the line, so smooth, no wheel spin at all, which is what we tended to hear, especially from the combustion cars, which, in case you haven't noticed, are entirely absent from FSG going forward. It's all electric.
Yes, and looking at the rear wing, we see a name on there, Hera, which is actually a Greek goddess, as far as I can tell. I think it's the, well, I'm just reading it out loud from Wikipedia. It's the goddess of marriage, women, and family. Suggests that you know what Hera means.
Many
or
talents.
maybe Hera is means something else. Maybe it's something else in Norwegian. We don't know. But we'll have to speculate. And this is when you have to fill in the commentary form, so we don't have to speculate about the name on the wing.
Exactly. I think by now we've also figured out the link, so we can say it out. It's fsg.1 /commentary or commentators. That could be a good thing to check out. Yeah, if you want to provide any information to us, we will use that, especially during the endurance on Sunday. Yeah. Explain your rear wing writings to us, or yeah, shout out, I don't know, your parents, another team that helped you out. Provide information to us so that we have something to talk about during the endurance, and we don't have to play elevator music the whole time or make things up about what we see out on track. Trondheim is taking their sweet time at the starting line. Christian, the white shirt official, has the grip firmly around the stopwatch. Of course, there is a 1 minute time limit in order to get set up here. I would think we're rapidly approaching that deadline.
Yeah, I'm not sure where when that starts actually, because after maybe they initiate the whole sequence. I'm not sure or whether after they are given the go-ahead. I think they are being asked to push the car back or pull the car back, because I think the time is running out rapidly. 5 minutes left, and I think Eindhoven is up, and so as we can tell, there are no more cars in the queue, and none of them also approaching. So I have a feeling that Eindhoven will be the last car of today. Yeah, we do see another car coming up. The team from Lausanne. I'm not sure will they be able to make the run because we have 3 minutes left. Less than 3 minutes, in fact. And we still see Eindhoven getting ready. And that will take a couple of minutes to clear the track anyway. So it will be very tight for Lausanne for sure.
Yeah, Eindhoven is ready, fortunately. But yeah, unless Lausanne is going by the time that the gong is sounding, I think that's bad news for them. Speaking of bad news, this is it for Eindhoven. So this might be playing into the cards of Trondheim, who is now allowed to get going again. Eindhoven has hereby invalidated their second run. I think they did get the signal to engage the autonomous mode, but it immediately aborted.
Yeah, we're in the final minutes of the driverless acceleration. I think this will be the very, very last attempt from Trondheim. We hear the beep, attractive system active lights. Yes, good getaway.
Powerful start.
Yeah, really good.
The line.
Very, very good.
Very respectable
so far.
time as well.
Yeah, that's a completed run in the dying seconds of the event. Wow, and it's a pretty decent time as well. That's up there in the top 5, top 6 for sure.
Yeah, now the scrutineers are checking the Lausanne car, but yeah, it was no more. It is exactly 12:30, which means that this is it for this year's driverless acceleration event. We are going to take a little bit of a lunch break. What is still happening here after lunch is the big team photo, so all the cars will be assembled in the infield. And then in the afternoon, we will see the manual acceleration event here from 3 or 3:30 onwards. And in the infield, we will see the driverless cars yet again participating in the Driverless Cup for the Driverless Autocross.
Yes, that will be at 4 o'clock, and the manual acceleration will be at 2:45, so 2:45. And we will continue until 7 o'clock this evening. So yeah, we will do a short break, get some lunch, and we hope to see you guys back again. And for our online viewers, we will be back at 2:45. And after that, at 4 o'clock, we will be back with the driverless autocross.